Alhamdulillah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Everybody, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, and
Wow,
Alhamdulillah, doing my beloved.
I'm good, Baba. I'm doing really good. I love my light Mondays,
Oh, that's good.
so it's good. It's good.
Alhamdulillah. All right, so well, it's not really a switch up for us. I guess it's a switch up for anybody who would normally check in with us on Blog Talk. But since they get this message, notification that we've started a live on both Facebook and YouTube, so those who are going to be with us, they are with us. Alhamdulillah, Abu Hassan, assalamu alaikum. So right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and share what's coming up. Subject matter today is by title. It's like the need to achieve doubtlessness. The need to achieve doubtlessness. Very, very
Like
popular.
that.
Frankly, I only heard. I read the blurb and I only listened to this guy's introduction, and I
Yeah.
said, "Okay, boom, this is the one." So it's like just his just 2 sentence profile. I said, "Man, this guy's got stuff." So I haven't even heard the whole thing. So inshallah,
Okay.
we'll all be hearing it together in that
Awesome.
sense. Let me go ahead and share uh, that, and everything should be cool. Desktop. Uh, I know I just saw it. Oh, there it is. Defeating self-doubt.
I work as a co-director at a substance abuse and co-occurring mental illness treatment agency. And not a day goes by that I take that for granted. In 1999, I paroled from prison for the second time. For the second time. Apparently, once wasn't enough for me. Yeah, it's pretty scary. That's me. All told, I spent over 8 years in prison on probation or on parole for numerous felony drug charges. For 10 years, I woke up smoking crack every morning and went to bed smoking crack every night. I spent most of my time trying to escape the hopeless reality of my life by getting high. On the worst day, I remember selling an $8,000 car that my mom had given me that I loved to my crack dealer for four $20 rocks. That memory is so painful that actually, this is the first time I've ever shared it publicly. I came as close to giving up on life as one can without jumping off. But something extraordinary happened to me the second time I went to prison. About 2 months into my sentence, I got a letter from my ex-wife telling me that my mother, the person I profess to love and care about more than anyone in the world, had had a heart attack and was likely going to die. This wasn't my biological mother who had abandoned me shortly after I was born, but the real mother who had raised me as her own for all of my life. I was forced to look at what kind of person I had become. And the person I had become was not easy to look at. Because I had become the son who would not be there to comfort his 77-year-old mother, laying all alone in a stark hospital room when she needed him the most. Because of my selfish need to escape my realities by getting high. In a moment of brutal honesty, I had to admit I had been living a lie. I was not the loving son or the faithful partner or the supportive father or the good citizen that I had been telling everyone, including myself, for years. It was then that I decided that I needed to try to change my life into something that I and my mother, wherever she might be, could be proud of. And a tiny seed of change was planted deep inside me. So after my release from prison, I decided I would go back to school. Because I figured, what better place can a middle-aged, 240-pound black ex-convict go to blend in than a white bread community college with a whole bunch of 20-something co-eds. But I was fortunate. I was fortunate because at the local junior college where I landed, I ran into two instructors that changed my life. It was my interactions with these instructors that helped me to regain the self-worth and purpose and meaning and confidence that my drug use and drug-related lifestyle had stolen from me. I'll never forget the moment that I realized that I understood that I could create my own miracle. It all started when I went up to one of Professor Senna's office hours, fishing for some special praise because that had become my new drug of choice. She listened to me describe some super cool thing I had just done. And with no pomp and circumstance, she looked at me and said, "Isn't it amazing, BJ, what a person can do when they start believing in themselves?" And then, as if nothing special had happened, she turned back to her desk and what she was doing. Well, I walked away from that office hour dazed and confused and wondering what had happened. I was also a little pissed because she hadn't fed my new habit. But I was forced to think about what had happened and what did it mean. And importantly, that seed of change that was deep inside me started to stir. A couple months later, while taking a test, Professor Miller walked by my desk and dropped off an application that I later discovered was to the Masters of Counseling program at Sacramento State University. So after the test, I hurried up to his office hour and run into his office and held up the application and very obtusely said, "What's this?" And without hesitation, he responded, "I'm quite confident in your ability to read, so I'm sure you can figure that out on your own." So I brilliantly followed that up with an equally obtuse question. I said, "So do you think I can do this?" And with patience, but no special fanfare, he looked at me and said, "Of course. Of course." And then he too turned back around to his desk, signaling that we were done. And again, I stumbled away from an office hour, dazed and confused. But this time, the seeds of believing in myself that had been planted in my garden of self-doubt took root and started to grow. In a moment, I realized that the only person left to believe in me that needed to believe in me was me. As my tears started to well up in my eyes, for the first time since I had left prison, I felt free. After 3 years, I finally felt free of the mental and emotional shackles caused by the shame and the pain and the despair of my years of drug use. How paralyzing self-doubt can be. It contributes to people choosing misery over joy and emptiness over fulfillment and imprisonment over freedom, and unnecessarily so. In 2006, only 7 years after I walked off the yard at Corcoran State Prison, I walked across the stage and I was conferred my doctorate in clinical psychology. And sitting in the middle of the third row was a woman who had spent countless sleepless nights worrying about her son. That woman was my then 85-year-old mother, who did not die while I was in prison. But lived to see me become the man she always believed I could be. Prior to 1999, this was my life, without hope or purpose. Today, this is my life. Now, I want to say here that I'm often frustrated when I hear people attribute a person's successful recovery or rehabilitation to a miracle, as if their hard work and perseverance had nothing to do with it. I needed to say that because it was regaining my belief in myself that gave me the power to change the direction of my life, and is what allows me to now provide hope to others facing similar challenges. Because I'm living proof. I'm living proof that a person's past does not have to define their future. Now, you don't have to go to prison to learn the lessons I have. In fact, I really wouldn't recommend it. But know this: we do have a choice whether we want to have our past define us or refine us. And as I tell the thousands of individuals struggling with addictions and other painful life challenges that come through our clinic, you don't have to wait for a miracle. You can create your own. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Let's get out of here. What are we doing here? Start with that. And let's start with that. All right, alhamdulillah. So we don't have to have transition music. We are our transition music. Doom,
Oh.
doom, doo, 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 da, doom, 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 dee, 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 da. And we're back.
And we're back.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Yeah, that's quite a story, you know.
That was amazing.
Yeah, you know, you think about narrative, right? I mean,
Yes.
it is all about that narrative, but I'm not going to jump in because I know that's all in your backyard and mine too.
That's
Alhamdulillah.
right. Alhamdulillah.
The subject matter is the need for us to achieve doubtlessness, and so this doubtlessness is about everything that you aspire to, think about, what have you, that is good and good for you, right? Have no doubts about yourself, have no doubts about your goals, have no doubts about your future, have no doubts about God, have no doubts about human
Now.
beings. It's all of that.
Yes.
But I ain't gonna preach now. I'm
It's too late. You didn't lit the fire
Yeah,
when you
I
played that
already
video. You lit the fire when you played the video. It's on.
Well, it's on you right now. I'm out of here.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum to everyone with us live via Facebook and on YouTube. I fast on Mondays and the break fast just came in. So I share this moment with you briefly. Hold on a moment. I mean, so let's get into it. First off, it's good to be back. I know that we have, we're getting back into the swing of things and life is lifing, but we're here and you're here, and anyone who is here and in the room and getting this message at this moment, it was because you had the capacity to take on the responsibility of the message that you received. And I love the video that was just shared. And, I was able to be fully present in listening. And I do this thing every year. And this is why, like, my heart gets full, right? About how swift Allah is with the answers. Allah is so swift. Right. And even in me saying that, what I'm also receiving in understanding swiftness is that the answer was already there. I just was able to see it. Like it's not that it was something that was hidden. It's not something that that was like, you can't have it. It was always there. And before I complete this story in this, it's just like, have you ever lost your keys, or you're looking for your glasses, or, it's just whatever it is that you may have misplaced, right? And in the journey of the thing that you have misplaced, you keep looking in the same space over and over and over again. And it never moved. It didn't get up and walk away. Like nothing. It's been in that same spot. And you are just like, why can't I see it? But then you take a moment, whether it's take a deep breath, or you just like, release yourself of the anxiety or the rush of trying to find the thing. And then there it is. It hadn't moved and then magically appeared there. It was always there. It's just there was something in you that had to allow you the ability to see the answer always being there, right? And so that is me in real time correcting this ideal of swiftness. Like the answer was always there. It's just, when you're looking for it, sometimes you got to sit still, gather yourself together so that you can really see it for what it is. That being said, I do this thing every year, and this is maybe about my fourth year doing it. You know, people set resolutions or things like that. I got out of the habit of setting a resolution because goals will be goals will be goals at any point in time. And the who I am in the beginning of the year and what I know I need in the midst of the year will be very different. So I started this thing where I choose my word of the year, like this, the word of the year that I want to better understand. And so whatever word comes up that I get inspired by, it's like, this is the word of the year. So the ones that I seem to remember right now is 2 years ago, the word was surrender. Surrender was the word. And when I reflect on what my experience was through the year, it was about surrendering to Allah's will. Like it, if I could not, if it's something I cannot control, I released it. I surrendered to the scenario. I surrendered to whatever showed up, and I didn't allow myself to crumble under the answer or the receiving. It was me really studying and understand what that means to submit one's will, right? So that was the one. This year my word was sweetness. And I don't know why I thought of the word sweetness, but I thought about bees and honey, and and how sweets bring a certain level of joy and happiness and pleasure. And so even in the midst of that, the challenges that definitely had taken place, they were still partnered with surrender and sweetness, right? But the sweetness had to do with the investment of time, the investment of effort and energy to reap the benefits of the sweetness, like the work that the bees do to create the honey. And I'm saying this out loud, like I need to, like, the science in that. There's definitely another layer of the message connected to that. But I was thinking about, like the sweetness of life. And so I traveled many places this year where I was able to explore the beauty and the sweetness of this life that we live through the food, through the environment, through nature, through the company. It was and the hard work that I did in order to afford myself these experiences, that the sweetness, like, it made it that much more valuable. It made it that much sweeter, right? Or you think about a fruit, like you don't pick fruits too early, because if you pick it too early, then you don't get to benefit from the sweetness of it having a chance to grow, the juices in it being able to really, build up, right? To get reach its fullest potential for you to consume it and have the best experience. So this is all of the things, like when I think about sweetness, what life had brought. It was not about me rushing to a thing. It was Sweetness was connected to patience. It was connected to being patient and allowing the journey and the process and celebrating every step to getting closer to what is sweet, to this beautiful full potential of an experience, right? So this time I had been toying around with, I was like, what is going to be my word this year coming into 2024? And it kept coming up in other instances, but then today I solidified that my word this year is going to be evidence. And I was like, is it evidence? And my body has these little tug of wars, right? But then my spirit goes, no, that's the word this year is evidence. 2024 is evidence, right? And I love, you know, I love being able to share this moment with everyone here during wealth creation preservation, because I don't sit and write down what I'm going to talk about. I don't. I have tried that, and it doesn't move and flow the same way. I look at this as an opportunity for me to share in real time how inspiration works. It's like painting a picture. And even in me saying that, I have been having this strong desire to paint, to start painting again as a space of expression. Like at my core, I'm an artist, I'm a creative person. My body craves creativity. I have to find a way to express myself, not just in words, but whatever modalities, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's dance, whether it's like I change my furniture in the house all the time, like all of the things, right? And so when I think about this moment of me even sharing with you all, and in connection with the video, because I'm gonna get to that, that this cycle of to surrender is to be patient, right? Is to allow Allah to do what Allah does. Like to sit back and understand that Allah don't need my help to do what Allah does, right? It is for me to allow Allah to do what Allah does. And in me, like surrendering to Allah's will, the benefit of the sweetness of my patience and knowing that Allah's timing is perfect. Like not a single solitary flaw in Allah's timing, not a flaw. My timing, flaws everywhere. Everywhere. Even if I think I got it right, there will be flaws in my timing. But the timing of the creator that created us is untouchable, right? And in doing that and waiting for that perfect moment, that for us, our perfect moment, because Allah's moment is always perfect, right? That in surrendering to that, we get the best, most beautiful, perfect life experience. So this year definitely tested my patience around what I thought I wanted to achieve, what I want to achieve. And there's a part of me that's want to run toward it. Like I should have it by this time. It should have done this by this date. I set the goal for it to be at this time and it didn't do that. Now I'm frustrated. Does this mean I can't have it? No. Your timing isn't perfect. Allah's timing is perfect. And so in Allah's time being perfect, now like me now getting inspired with the word evidence is to live a life that bears witness to that patience. Because in my spirit, now whether however it chooses to show up, I'm good either way. But this feeling that I had, like this like fiery feeling that I have that's on my heart, like my heart is beating even as I'm saying this. This fiery feeling and drive that's in me is saying, you have done the work, right? And this is the time for you to see the evidence of your patience. This is that year to do that. Like that's what I feel, right? Now, whether or not it shows up in that way, it really don't matter to me, because this feeling right here feels good. It feels real. It feels honest. It's like, yeah, it's belief. Like I believe that this year is the year of evidence for me. For me. Because it's not that I just popped up and be like, yeah, evidence, proof. Yeah, bear with. No. Like I was inspired with that word as a result of a journey that led up to this point. And do I know what the word will be in 2025? No, I don't. But baby, 2024 is saying evidence. And so connecting that with what we just shared about the belief, right? When I worked with, I've suddenly had quite a few new clients who are seeking like one-on-one conversation around, because my focus is really around spiritual empowerment. And the first thing I ask is, who is God to you? Like, what do you know God to be for you in your life? Right? I'm not talking about title, I'm talking about like the attributes, right? And when I hear those attributes, and it for me, it begins to make sense around what life looks like, what their life is looking like. And evidence of, when I clearly think about what Allah says I am to myself, or what He knows me to be, and I need to get the direct wording for that. I every time I have it, I can't find. I need to put it somewhere where I can see it every time, so I can memorize the wording of it, because it's a part of my system. It's a part of my system in supporting individuals seeking a level of spiritual, to feel empowered in their relationship with the Creator that created them, right? And so when I hear, where the hiccups or the obstacles are, it reflects so very much on how they identify what that relationship is with the Creator. And so when I start to string together these components, I ask them those things. Do you do that for you? Right? So what do I mean by that? Like, if I say that, that Allah answers all the prayers, like that's an attribute that I live by. Allah answers all prayer. Allah is the abundance. Allah is like, there are some that I'm like, no, this is what for me, Allah this merciful, Allah. And so in that, I ask myself, do I provide that level of, response to myself? Like, if I know that Allah is love, I know that those things are, it's like, do I love on myself in that same way? Like, do I show myself the same level of consideration? Like, when you set the healthy boundaries, or the parts of those things and parts in your life, it is as a result of understanding that, Allah wants me to know and experience and to be merciful, to show mercy, right? That Allah wants me to be charitable and giving, right? And in me doing that externally, do I do that internally, right? So this belief is so very much so connected to how it is that we believe. Like, I believe that Allah wants the best life for me. There is an unwavering, but I don't believe that Allah wants my life to be oppressed, right? And over again, it's stated in the Quran about how horrible oppression is. So when I feel that, I'm like, okay, I know Allah does not lie. Allah is haq, is the truth, right? So in those moments, I have to ask myself that, okay, if I want to change the state of who I am and what, I have to first change what is within me. Not, I got to change my boss. I got to change my parents. I got to change my child. I got to change my job. I got to change my address. No, I have to change what is within me. And in me changing what is within me, when I'm looking for what I'm looking for, now I'm able to see it because it was always there. The answer was always there. But now I am sitting with me. I'm not thinking about, I'm going to be late. I'm not thinking about, how am I going to, I'm not thinking about the solution of the thing. I am sitting with myself in that moment. And now I see, oh, it's right there, because it's now between me and finding the answer. It's not between how it's going to affect what's happening because I'm looking for it. It's me, right? And so it's in those moments, like this level of how belief shows up. It's like you feel it, like it's undeniable. you feel it, and then you move in the direction that supports this belief so that the thing that was once unseen is now seen. The abstract idea of what it would look and feel like for your business to do X, Y, and Z. The abstract idea of what it would look like to gift the people you love. The abstract idea of what it looks like to be financially free. It has not happened yet, but you feel it in your core like, ooh, when this happens, it's this. I feel this. I can see how it would look and how it would turn out. And so as a result, the things that are blocking you from getting to that goal reveals itself. So you got to move those things out, because it doesn't mean it's not there. You got to move those other things out the way so you could see the thing that was always there and waiting for you. How amazing and beautiful is that? And this belief, that the belief, even when I think about what he shared, like the belief that his mom had for his life, that he benefited from that belief, because a belief is a prayer. It is living in the prayer, right? It's even if you don't sit and literally pray out loud and ask, but the belief you're carrying so tough and so heavy that you're living in the belief. Like the belief is a verb, right? Because your actions are going to mirror the belief. Like when I say to myself, I believe that I am a multi-million-dollar business, I'm going to move different. How am I going to move? I don't even have to pray like, God, make me a multi-million-dollar business. No, my behavior is going to reflect my belief. I believe that I'm worthy of being financially free. What do I start to do? It's like you start to just do things different. You look for the different hacks on how to save. You start to research and look up videos on understanding financial competency. You come across, and then Allah shows up and puts something right in front of you. You wasn't even looking for it, but it said, look at this. Play the video. And it's like, what you was thinking about here, look at that. Right? So this belief, it has to be unwavering, that there is no doubt that what you have been inspired with and that you feel in your core is like, yeah, you're right. Let me show you this. I wasn't looking for that TED Talk video. Wasn't looking for it. Didn't even cross my mind to go on YouTube to look up something about what does it mean to be the evidence of your life. Like nothing. I'm just living life. But what does Allah do? Put me in front of something where it, without a doubt, is like, I'm showing you, yes, keep going in this direction. Are we open to really allowing ourselves the stillness to see the conversation that Allah has with us on a regular basis? Like, how amazing a moment in life that every single second is an opportunity to connect with the source of all life. And when you see it, you take that moment. I had a moment like that even today, because I like to have my window open, right? And I was sitting and I was working on some things on the computer. And all of a sudden, the clouds, it was sunny out. The clouds looked like it was dancing across the sky. Like they were just like this three-dimensional, beautiful view. And I said, what? I mean, it blew my mind as to how beautiful it was. And I stopped what I was doing. And I said, wow. I said, this is amazing. And I closed my computer and I just watched it, because it was in that moment I was seeing the world doing what it does in real time. And it was, simple as that may be, it was still a moment that I can clock it into my mind that Allah gave me this gift to witness, to bear witness to creation. the creation that is supplying the rain, that is supplying the growth. And while I'm in the midst of doing life things, it's like, look, take a moment. And I did. And so sometimes we get so flustered about what we're doing, we don't take time to be, to be, to be alive, to be joy, to be happiness, to be, a student, to be that, not do, a thing in order to get to create this transaction within life. Like the you will attract the thing that you're seeking to build and create for yourself, just in being the fullness of who you are and believing it. So there are experiences that take place that when you are surrounded by the believers that believe in a vision or believe in an idea for humanity and for life, that you too can benefit from it. So how strong is your belief? And we're not even going to talk about the fact that B is at the beginning of belief. That's a whole nother layer of conversation, but it's not by mistake. It's intentional. Belief. Okay, I got to stop, or I'm gonna be on here carrying on like the Imam. So with that being said, I'm gonna call the Imam back into the room. This has been amazing. So if you're available on this, okay, you're muted. You're muted.
B, and it is.
And it is.
Allahu Akbar. Yeah,
Allahu Akbar.
You right. You right, because we could just work with just that word.
Just that.
Right? I mean, but because when you start putting it, through the filters that we have, letters, numbers, sounds, reading of the letters, like, what if you read it this way instead of that way, right? Just one little quick one, okay?
Go for it. I'm here for it.
Belief, right?
Yeah.
Belief. See, that's what we've been taught to say, belief. BELIEF. Okay, but if we take away B and then we have what's left, right? What do we have left?
Leave.
Yeah. Do we spell it?
Life. We have life.
Hello. Right?
Life. Yeah.
So you come alive when you believe, right? And so then with believe, it's the same way. It's life or live. If you believe, you'll be alive.
Yes.
Right? If you believe, if you have belief, you'll have life.
Right. So then the question is, what are you choosing to be, though? Because that is very much so connected to the life that you create.
Absolutely. So then we get back to those narratives.
Right.
Right. See, because if somebody tells you a story,
yeah,
and there's also lie in belief, right? Book of Eli, right?
Right.
When you say there's lie is also in belief, because somebody can give you a lie to believe in.
Right.
And so then false belief, it means false what?
Life.
False life, right? False belief, false life, right? So you need to have the truth to believe in the truth. And especially in a time like this, you have to have the way. How do you get to the truth? How do you know the truth? How do you identify the truth? Right? So I'm gonna hit this, and then I'm gonna take your face off the screen.
and I know that I got an early lift off.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I
go for it, but I want to hear this.
I really got to move out the way. The idea is see, I lost my point. The idea of we talk about belief, life, true, narrative. So if somebody gives you a
false life.
Oh yeah, okay, truth. So you want truth. And this is one of the biggest things right now the biggest issue that you want to know that you're moving on and that your feelings are moving upon the truth,
Yeah.
right? See, there are a whole lot of narratives out there for everything we talk about. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Lifestyles,
Right.
Gaza, Ukraine,
Yes.
Trump presidency,
Yes. Yes.
all that. These are all different things to believe about. I won't say
Yeah.
believe in, to believe about. And everybody has their different beliefs about all those things that I listed, right?
Right.
But if your belief is not grounded in the truth, then you will have false beliefs around those things. Then what follows the belief is the behavior, right? So if you believe falsely, you're going to act falsely, right? So the critical thing is the truth. Now, critical thing for us to understand is that the role of logic is to detect falsehood. The role of logic is to detect falsehood. Let's say this again. The role of logic is to detect falsehood. Listen, so when you have these talking heads, when you have these news announcers, when you have these headlines, etc., when you have these YouTube narratives and shorts, etc., that are saying,
Right.
if you don't know how to use logic to discern, take apart, to break down, to evaluate, to assay, like you a fool's gold, real gold, right?
Right.
What is the litmus test? What is the acid test for whatever somebody is telling you? If you don't know how to do that, then you'll be locked into just the way you feel. Oh,
Right.
it feels right. So, and that's what people determine. So the ones who are unled or
Right.
whatever, underdeveloped. It's like, well, I don't feel like that's true. Well, how you feel ain't the key, right?
Right.
The key
And
is,
that's not facts. Your feelings
right.
are not facts.
Exactly. All right, I gotta get you out of here.
All right, will do.
All right, so moving right along. Bismillah. So we've identified that today's subject is the need to achieve doubtlessness. The need to achieve doubtlessness. I'm going to say just as much as whatever time we have permits me to say. We're actually going to be out at the top of the hour, so actually I'll probably only be speaking, mashallah, inshallah, maybe about 35 minutes, and I'll cover as much as I can. And I want to say this also. I want to put more and more. It's myself and you all on notice. I'm going to start pushing you a little more intellectually. Start pushing you a little more intellectually. I'm inviting you to take one step beyond. Some of y'all old enough to remember that old sci-fi thing. I want you to take one step beyond what you're used to thinking. I want you to understand it is necessary to advance your thing, and for me, especially those who identify and say, I'm a student of Imam W.D. Muhammad, I'm an associate of Imam W.D. Muhammad. You particularly is who I'm addressing with this statement. Give you a little humor, but it's a fact. It's true. Sometimes, you have these movies, they talk about it, say, well, they playing chess, not checkers, right? Now they decided to call. Say that they're playing chess, not checkers, right? That's the nature of truth and reality. The reality is chess, not checkers, right? Then there's also another cultural statement that's made many times. They said, man, there's levels to this thing. There's levels to this thing. And I'm saying that both to, especially to those associates of Imam W. Muhammad, students of Imam W. Muhammad. And let me say this, since it's on my mind. One of the things is there's a biblical statement. Imam has mentioned that statement to us as well, in conjunction with himself. And I just talked about truth, right? And being able to discern the truth. Imam Muhammad has a language. There's the language of Imam W. Muhammad. And Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah, he said, he said, in concert with the Jesus' statement attributed to Jesus in the Bible, says, "My sheep know my voice. My sheep know my voice." So it's like, if you want to know, is someone speaking the language of Imam W.D. Muhammad in a manner of speaking? I'm not going into the detail. I have gone into detail. I've written a whole book that has about 135 pages to it on that, and it's out there. You actually could have gotten it for free, but I'm not pushing it so much now. Just cover this. And that is, he said, "My sheep know my voice." So all you gotta do is listen to somebody, and you will know that the tone, the spirit, the emphasis, the semantics, the logic, you say, well, yeah, that is the language of Imam W. Muhammad, even if you can't explain it, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is, it is Imam Muhammad's language has levels, and good. Stay with the Imam, have his political sensibilities, his cultural, his quote unquote ethnic sensibilities, his quote unquote spiritual sensibilities, quotes and things from those different categories that you can explicitly know that this is from Imam W. Muhammad. But brother and sister, please know this and remember this, and allow me to remind you, if that's the case, that Imam Muhammad was just setting us up for freedom, setting us up for realization and actualization of our innate potential, which is much broader, which he knew himself that he would not live to see the full expression of the potential that lies dormant in us. His responsibility was to create an environment, an atmosphere, an ethos, a set of conditions for mind that would cause that garden that I'm going to call his, that garden of his associates to grow. And you are seeing now, if you're paying attention, and that he knew he would, there would be growth that you don't see in his time and that we won't see in our time, but now is also being seen in our time, that you didn't expect, because you couldn't anticipate it. You didn't know what the potential held. You knew it was great, but you couldn't say explicitly it's this, that, and that, in categorically speaking. But let me get away. It's like there are sorts of Imam W.D. Muhammad that you can depend on them for different aspects of quote unquote his language. You know who they are. You know who they are. I can depend on, I'm not naming any names, I can depend on this brother who's identified Imam W.D. Muhammad to come with this. And I can depend on that brother who's associated with Imam W.D. Muhammad to come with that. And I can depend on that sister who's associated with Imam W.D. Muhammad to come with this. There's a garden of Imam W.D. Muhammad's students who are bearing their fruit as we speak. And so I'm saying I could give you names and witnesses, and this is no boast. This is just a setup to get there. My dimension is the intellectual dimension. I'm not saying solely. I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm not saying that. It's not possible because the intellect is our nature. But for as far as the science, the science of the self, the science of psychology, the science in terms of the sociology, the science of the intellect, the issue of philosophy, and science itself as it relates to our way of life and as it relates to the signs of Allah in the nature of creation, I'm very comfortable in saying that. And as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was said to his companions answering a question that is of that nature, he said, "This is no boast." So I'm telling you, I'm saying this is the fact. I have witnesses that you trust that will quote Imam Muhammad as giving, quote unquote, giving me that position along with out of his mouth. All right. He's not saying that I'm the only one, but he has made it clear to his associates, his inner circle. They know Fahim Shuaib is a thinker. All right. And if they're honest, they will tell you because they told me. They told me and he told me, Imam. He told me and he told you in the public too. I'm saying that because I say I'm going to push the envelope, but I don't want you to get lost in the sauce. Oh, that ain't the language of Imam W.D. Muhammad. That's why I got to say all of what I'm saying right now. There's levels to Imam W.D. Muhammad's language. That's what I'm saying. All right. So today that's it because I got getting my co-host on the road the way she needs to be on the road. So okay, I said it, and I'm gonna put a Forrest Gump on it. Let's go ahead and have a little laugh. Forrest Gump said, and that's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. So let's go. In this doubtlessness, in this issue of doubtlessness, Quran begins, Alif Lam Mim. That is Surah Al-Baqarah, right? Alif Lam Mim. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. That's, I'm going to stop right there. Sadaqallahu. They are the ones who believe bil ghaib. They believe in the unseen. Remember these words that I just stated, that there's levels to this thing, right? And there's levels to that statement from Allah. So when he says that they believe in the ghaib, they believe in the ghaib, without elaborating on that, because I'm not trying to stay there as the point, but I want you to understand that as a cornerstone. They believe in, the translator says, unseen. What the meaning inside of al-ghaib, it has many, but one of the meanings inside of al-ghaib is that they believe in something before it's been proven to them. But here's the key. How is it that they believe in something before it's been proven to them? Right? Just right away, Abraham comes to mind. So I'm saying there's the Quranic foundation for believing in something before it's been quote unquote proven to you. He asked God, how will the resurrection be? God said, what is it? You don't believe? He said, yes, I believe, but yet ma'inna qalbi. And then you got the four bird experiment that was given to him, and that was enough. And God, that's one verse, and everything that needs to be said and done and understood, all that was in just that one verse, 260. All right, so bil ghaib means believing in something before it's proven, but why? Because of the source of the information. All right. Have you ever been, in a city that you're not familiar with, and you're looking for a particular location, and you pull up to somebody walking down the street with their dog or whatever, and you ask them, where is the so and so museum, whatever. All right. And so they say, oh, okay, you just go right down here, and about the 3 lights down, and then you're going to see a big yellow building. You make a right there, and it's right in the middle of the block, right? You drive off. You don't say nothing to those people like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I can trust it. You don't do that. You menuna bil ghaib. You believe even though their instructions haven't been proven to you to be true. You trust them for all the other assumed reasons that you pulled up in the first place to stop. Just think about how many things went through your head before you pulled up to that person and asked that question. There were so many assumptions that you have made in an instant that caused you to do that, and you get that information, and upon those same assumptions, you drive off in that direction with the hope and expectation that you're going to get to where you're trying to go. Okay, so it is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yu'minuna bil ghaib. You believe in what Allah has revealed, even though it hasn't been proven to you, and therefore you follow that. Okay, so that's the first order of belief. Yu'minuna bil ghaib. First order of belief. I'm not trying to stratify it in that sense. I'm just trying to that first layer, that first level of understanding how we believe in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. Yes, that's the first level of yu'minuna bil ghaib. Zalika al-kitabu la rayba fi. There's no doubt, no crookedness in this book. The believers believe in it. All right. So, okay, now level up. So moving off the level of where you're just talking about faith. Now it's time to we're going to go to the level of application to things outside of the prayer rug, application to things outside of the masjid. Okay, Because what Allah has revealed to us, He revealed that to us for our life as a human being, which is a social existence. And the social existence has many arenas, many areas, many quarters, if you will. And the guidance is to be applied everywhere. But you have to be able to see what Allah has revealed, understand, perceive, grasp, comprehend what Allah has revealed on levels other than the ritual, other than just the spirituality, the idea of spiritual beliefs. You have to know how to step out with. So, okay, so this is the level that we're talking about moving to. Excuse me. I want to quote Imam Mohammed here. Imam Mohammed, rahimahullah, this he said, this is like in the 70s, right? He said, God has made faith so that people would have to earn God's blessings. If He had fixed it perfect, there would be no room for earning His blessings. But He made it so that you would have to earn it. You would come wondering, doubting in some part, and the more you believe, the more He rewards your faith. Finish. The more He rewards your faith with knowledge. And pretty soon you come to the point where you do not have doubt. All right. Abraham again. Abraham is the model for what we're talking about. Abraham, we talked about the 4 birds. Is it that do you believe? Yes, I believe, but yet my soul needs to be, my heart needs to be at rest. So then God gave him an experiment. He did the experiment, and you didn't hear anything else, which is safe to assume and be clear that everything that Abraham needed to understand, he understood from what God gave him. But I want to emphasize on the level that we're speaking of, He gave him a scientific experiment. That was a scientific experiment, and therein is a hint to what settles the heart, calms the heart, perfects our faith, our religious faith. What perfects it is an increase in knowledge. Now, amplify that with Abraham's vision of the star, moon, sun. There's volumes and volumes to be written on that, but we're only going to make this one and same point. That happened when Abraham was trying to get his faith in Allah, the Creator, on the solid grounds, which was the same thing he was doing with regard to the resurrection. And so he was in pursuit of knowing and understanding Allah. And so God says in the Quran, thus did we show Abraham the powers and the laws of the heavens and the earth. Listen, thus did we show Abraham the powers and the laws of the heavens and the earth. Listen, cause and effect. That's the nature of science, right? So what was God trying to cause? What effect was God trying to bring about in the life of Abraham? He was trying to get Abraham to a state where he had Yaqin, where he had this certainty of knowledge. And I'm calling it tonight doubtlessness. He had to get to this state of doubtlessness. But the doubtlessness is grounded in knowledge. That's it. So it's like if there was one sentence to be pulled out of what I said tonight, what is it? Why do we need to achieve doubtlessness? And how is it that we are to achieve that doubtlessness? You achieve that doubtlessness on the foundation of knowledge and scientific knowledge. Training those birds, that was scientific knowledge. The star, moon, sun that Abraham traversed, as shown us in that story, that's scientific knowledge. Each one of those star, moon, sun can be read as epochs in the history of man in his pursuit of different types of knowledge. We're not going to do that tonight. But the point is, that's what it represents, the whole movement from philosophy to material science, But Abraham went beyond that. But you and I also have to have knowledge of all of those realms in order to get to the state of Yaqin, the state of conviction that Abraham models for us, right? So, so that's critical. The way you get to doubtlessness is to increase your knowledge about that about which you may have some doubts. I'm not talking about moral doubts or religious doubts or spiritual doubts or psychological doubts, for example. I'm talking about if you're trying to achieve something, if you're trying to accomplish something, you have a goal in front of you, you have something that you want to do, something that you want to realize. All right? All you got to do is check in with yourself and ask yourself, how much do you really believe? Now we're back to believe, right? Because that's subordinate to what we're saying. How much belief do you really have in yourself about your capacity to do that? Now, if you're honest with yourself, then I believe if it's something that you haven't achieved yet, that you have some form of doubt about it. You might not want to call it that, but I think you would be dishonest to yourself if you wanted to tell yourself or anybody else that I have absolute certainty that I'm going to do this. Okay, you can tell me that, but you got to turn around and look at yourself. You got to turn around and look at yourself on the inside. You got to turn around and look at your past, your behavior, your habits, your disposition, your history, and how many times have you said that you're going to do that before? Well, if it's such a thing, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, is this the first time you ever said this to yourself? All right, let's move on. So the point is that there is always at the beginning of whatever the endeavor is, some measure of doubt, no matter how big or small, because you have not done it yet. You don't know what it is that you're going to be facing to do that, or you may have some idea of what you do have to face in order to do that, including facing yourself, right? It's like, oh man, I know how I am, because if I'm going to do that, it's going to take this kind of discipline, this kind of work, this kind of grind, etc. And if I know me the way I know me, I don't know if I'm going to make it up that hill. If you're honest with yourself. But what will leverage us out of that condition is more knowledge about what it is that we are striving to accomplish. And here's what, going back to the Imam's statement that we read, the Imam said, and the more you believe, the more he rewards your faith with knowledge. Now, have you ever asked the question or been asked the question, how do you increase faith? How do you increase faith? You know what Imam Mohammed's answer is? And it's the truth. You increase faith by obedience. You increase faith by obedience. Third time. You increase faith by, you want more faith? Okay, so whatever it is that you want to have faith in, you need to obey the principles related to that, whatever it might be. It can be a concrete, practical, occupational thing or what have you. Okay, take what you already know and take what you believe and then obey it. Obey that knowledge that is lined up with what you hope to achieve. Obey it, and then your faith gets increased. What the Imam is telling us, this is the law in the nature of creation. You have belief, act on that belief, and because of that obedience, Allah gives you more knowledge about what you're pursuing, right? And then with that more knowledge, what's happening is your doubtlessness. So here's where I'm trying to get us to go. We talk about faith. I want in this context for us to think more in terms of how do you achieve a state of doubtlessness? How do you achieve a state? It's like you could do it like this. You could have faith and doubtlessness, like two hands, right? Say, I have faith, but what's another way in thinking about this faith that you need for a great achievement, you have to have doubtlessness. Just change the language about that, because they're both English words. The Arabic word is yaqeen. The Quranic word is yaqeen. That's what I'm talking about. Yaqeen, right? Just like sabr doesn't translate into patience, right? So I'm just saying, it's like, yeah, we can go with the Arabic words and focus on that, but I want us to focus on language that we use. The language that we use, we talk about faith. It's like, yeah, I need more faith. I got to have more faith. I have faith in this, right? Faith/belief, etc. Okay, but in order to get to, there's a level that you have to get to with this faith that causes you. And I heard Haja talking earlier, said you have to follow that behavior up with, you have to be consistent on that behavior, and that once you get into that right mindset or that state of mind, you make that decision, and then you habitually do that. That's what we're trying to get to. And I'm telling you, once you get to doubtlessness about whatever it is that we're talking about, once you get to doubtlessness about it, then the behavior is automatic. That is the behavior for the achievement, because you don't have the achievement in hand. But once you attain the state of doubtlessness that I'm talking about, you are, for all intents and purposes, you are actually already there, quote unquote, virtually, abstractly. Again, like I said, for all intents and purposes, it's just the behavior. Everything in this dimension takes time, right? But once you've satisfied that this is the thing that I have to keep doing, and I'm going to get there. Listen, let's you can talk about FICO credit scores, right? Okay, there's just certain things that you have to do in order to get to a certain credit level, right? Once you have the knowledge of how to get to how does one improve their credit? Okay, here's the information, right? Okay, so now you have the information. Okay, are there some doubts in there? There may be some doubts because of your own behavior, your own situation. You're still looking so much at the past, et cetera, et cetera. But once you get clear that, okay, this is the path that I have to follow in order for me to get to this destiny here, the path has been laid out. All I have to do is behave in alignment with what the quote unquote science of the situation says. And then I'm going to make the advancement and progress toward that goal, and it's just a matter of time. And this is, again, back to Abraham, 53:37, where it says, and of Abraham, who fulfilled all his obligations. Of course, that relates to credit, but that's not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on where it said he fulfilled all of his obligations, and mainly that man can have but what he strives for. And then what he strives for will soon come into sight. Listen, it's always an important thing to me. It's like, soon, listen, please. I'm talking to me and you. Soon will what he strives for come into sight. Slow it down. Soon will what he strives for come into sight. Third time. Soon will what he strives for come into sight. Okay, so what he's striving for, does it exist? That's my question. Does it exist? Does it exist? Yeah, it exists. It may not exist with them in that moment in their hand in three-dimensional space-time, but it exists in the reality of life. And soon it will come into sight. If you do what? If you strive for it. Now, what's going to cause you to consistently strive for it? Your faith in your striving. Your faith in your striving should be grounded in a plan. I know I'm saying a lot right now, but this is what's involved. If you have a plan, just like I talked about the credit score thing, okay, that's a plan. Right? Okay, that's a plan. So what do you put faith in? You put faith in the plan. Then what do? You obey the plan. And then what's going to happen? Then your faith is going to be increased and your knowledge is going to be increased and you're going to be closer to your goal. What do? You keep doing that. That's the striving. And then before you know it, quote unquote, You have it in your hand. It already exists. It doesn't stop existing until you give up on it. Man can have but what he strive for. Soon what he strive for is coming to sight, right? I'm saying to you, in the model of Abraham, again, the idea is increase your knowledge and you will increase your doubtlessness. Increase your knowledge about what? Whatever. Whatever. What? Whatever. It could be anything. You want to run for political office, or you want to have a successful business, or you want to have a successful family, or you want to find a husband, or you want to find a wife. You want your children, etc., to go in a certain way, in a certain direction. It's like, okay, what's the plan? Because you can't start doing anything until you have a plan. But then once you have a plan, now you have to put faith in your plan. So now, this is why the plan that you actually come up with has to be a plan that you believe in. Now, if you make a plan, you don't believe in your own plan, well, that's dead on arrival. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, so what should your plan be comprised of? Your plan should be comprised of real knowledge. And what that means, you need to, if it's something that's been done before, then you need to get to the one that's done it before and get a plan from them that works and be true to that plan. And what's going to happen with that plan is the same thing that I'm talking about. What's going to happen is you plan, good plan, whatever measure of faith you have in the plan, then you obey the plan. Then you obey the plan. What's going to happen is your faith is going to be increased. But I want you to understand, in tandem with that faith, is your doubtlessness is going to increase. Most times we call it faith. But I'm saying to you, it's much more important, which we're not gonna have time to elaborate on that in detail. But inshallah, we'll get back to it. But start thinking in terms of when it comes to concrete things. Think about getting to a state of doubtlessness. Don't think so much about faith as a word. I say that because there's a pattern that's been built up in our mind with the word. And every time you use the word, you just evoke the same pattern. Okay, so you got to change the word, and then the changed vocabulary is going to give you a new way of perceiving and a new way of behaving. And though it's aimed at the same thing, achieving and accomplishing something, you're going to be in a better position to behave differently, especially as it relates to things that you've tried before, done before. You have to increase your knowledge about whatever it is that you're trying to do. And as you increase that knowledge, as knowledge goes up, doubtlessness goes up as well, which means that your doubts about your achieving goes down. You have less and less doubt about your potential for and the future realization of what it is that you strive for. For those of you listening, this is why I always put my phone on click it off. It's just too much going on there. But unfortunately, sometimes I miss your texts, I miss your calls, etc. Whatever. All right, let's finish up. Okay, so what I've said is you want to go up to doubtlessness, right? Which is another way of talking about faith, but I want you to think of it more in terms of doubtlessness. And as your doubtlessness increases, then naturally the doubt decreases, right? And so you're moving away from doubt and moving into doubtlessness, and that's, for again, Islamically speaking, it's yaqeen. Yaqeen is that how is it that you're confident in what it is that you're trying to accomplish? Because I know what I'm doing. I'm just saying this for whoever. It doesn't matter. It's surgeon, doctor, engineer, mother, father, teacher, what have you. It's like, how is it that you're so confident? Because I know what I'm doing. I was listening to Shannon Sharp this morning on First Take, and they were, they were doing basketball, no, pardon me, football talk, talking about those Cowboys. And I'm not the same as unknown caller. I'm not the same as well, then do it, turn it off. As Stephen A on the Cowboys. If you follow that at all, then you already know. The point is, Shannon Sharp, when he was talking to Dan Orlovsky, who was also a former quarterback in the NFL, Shannon Sharp, Hall of Famer in the NFL, three-time NFL champion. All right, so when they start talking about they start getting into the weeds, if you will, about the play and about why Dallas doesn't do good on the road, and why this team was able to pick them apart, and why the run is better than this. And he started using the vernacular that describes the situation on the football field, that is jargon. If you want to know what the meaning of jargon is that only people who are in the craft, who are journeymen in the craft, they were speaking at that level where I know what I'm talking about in this particular field, right? And so, and he actually came at one point with somebody he read it as somebody saying, so, what? Are you trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about? He said, don't mess with me when it comes to my knowledge of this game, right? So he understood the jargon, he understood the language, he understood what actually goes with the language that he's talking about, and in consequence of that, he's just totally confident about what he's talking about. And that again comes through experience. What I'm saying, he's doubtless about what he's saying, and his championships and his success there. We know it's a team sport, but his championships have everything to do with how much he knew about the game when he was playing the game, and now he, as a broadcaster and as a commentator on it, that experience and also the knowledge of how to communicate that is coming to play with him. I believe that he's at a level in that particular arena. He's at a level of doubtlessness in terms of that, and so many other Kobe Bryant and so many others that have this LeBron James, right? Even Michael Jordan, in relationship to his quote unquote history and his role, and again, he has receipts for what he's talking about. What did they not, and have they not, for those who are in the game now, have they not reached the level of doubtlessness? And do we not see the success that comes with that level of doubtlessness? And is there not a foundation of knowledge that underlies that doubtlessness, and the science of what it is that they know comes out in their behavior, and thus they're getting the chip, and they're getting the champion, the successes inside of the game that they're playing, right? And it's going to be the same way for people with golf, same way with tennis, same way with academics and what have you. It's same way with you. Okay, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? My question to you: what's the science of that? What is the science of that? Do you know the science of it? I mean, can you just wake up middle of the night and somebody asks you a question about that? Can you give it up without, let me turn my computer on? No, you gotta, if you have it, then you got it. So that's the doubtlessness that we look at. So much more to be said about that, but we're going to get to that at that time. But I'm going to go ahead and check out and leave it there. Inshallah. I don't know if we're going to return to the same subject next week. Maybe we will. You can put it in the chat if you want me to. Let me know. But right now, I'm going to call Haja back into the room and give you all the greetings as we actually sign off. All right. Go ahead, Haja. You got anything?
You got me hidden on the screen, but I don't have anything in particular other than hey, we're back. No, I mean, I've been sitting here taking notes. This is a conversation that I think that so many times we look at certain parts of what our life looks like my life should be here or there, or you want to achieve certain things, or you should have accomplished. And it's like, well, let's look at your belief system, because it's very much so tied into every aspect of that. And sometimes we don't want to hear that, because we're like, well, I believe this, I believe in being a Muslim. Okay, well, tell me, what does that look like? Like when you say, I believe I'm a Muslim, I believe in this is not shahada, da da da. It's like, okay, what does that look like in your life if you know that it is based on your beliefs, right? And so that part of it is a part of that personal introspection that we have to always hold time and space for, that we sit and understand if are we adopting a narrative of what it means to be Muslim that we got from something or someone else, or is it based on when we go inside and investigate with that, because Allah is going to give you the clear signs that confirm those things, like, yes, dig deeper into that part, right? And it's not something to be, scared of in that way, right? It is like, that is the code for you, is to go in.
You got to
go in there and unlock what that looks like.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. All right, good. Our job is done here.
Yes, it is.
All right, y'all. That's it for us tonight. Allah's peace be on you. Everybody be wonderful and strive for doubtlessness. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.